Okay, let's call the June 10th Board of Trustees meeting to order. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that includes the bills for May 21 and June 4th. Petitions and communications, public comment. May I ask what the may I ask what the guests are? Is this a class or something?
The presentation.
Oh, this is part of the presentation?
It's on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I'm not sure if anyone else is here for public comment.
Anything else for public comments? Yes. If not, let's turn to the presentation then from Noah Lemstra. You were the graduate student that was doing this project?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Jason, can you hear them? Where were we?
No, in a second.
Okay.
We could probably move the mic closer to them.
All right, so I am a PhD student in the Graduate School of Library and Information Science, and I'm presenting a faculty-sponsored research project, which is also a Urbana Free Library-sponsored public program, May 30th and May 31st of this year. Unfortunately, our two faculty sponsors, Kate Williams and Abdul Al-Khalimat, who co-direct the Community Informatics Research Lab, are both giving a public presentation in Pike County in Western Illinois tonight. So they are unable to attend, and they send their regrets. But this is the other members of the research team, and our bios are on the back. So we're just going to tell you a little bit about the program we did here at the library, May 30th and May 31st, and some of the results and some of the reasons why this type of research and service collaboration between the university and the library is a good thing to do, and we'd like to do more of it. So, Chris, do you want to start?
Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing? My name is Christopher Ham. I run and operate Chris Media, which is a local web design, graphic design, and social media consulting company. But I'm here to tell you about our wonderful team. It's a pretty dynamic bunch of people, if I have to say so myself. We are a team of 6, and with those 6 people, we have a nonprofit director, we have a small business owner, we have college professors, we have retired college professors, we have graduate students, we have researchers. So we're all across the board. We have community activists. And so we all fall under the umbrella of community informatics. Community informatics is really looking at the local communities, including public libraries, and saying how we really can tackle this information revolution that we're going under. And so actually the Urbana Free Library, what's the name of the program here?
The Computers 101 of UFL Tech Volunteers.
The Tech Volunteers, that actually is an offshoot of a community informatics course at GISLIS. I actually graduated from GISLIS, and I know Noah's currently getting his PhD in GISLIS, Graduate School of Library Information Science. And so we are actually looking to start a organization or a consortium in town called Information City. The logo is on your handout, and we're really looking how we can harness all of this technical power that we have in town with all the different public resources and bring them all together. And we started here with our training with the senior program.
No. Okay. So as Chris said, our program here at the library and the program they're doing currently really focuses on older adult senior citizens. And this is a really important community or demographic to pay attention to, we feel. It was really our privilege to have a program here May 30th and May 31st focused on training, teaching older adults in one-on-one setting how to do video chat. And Brian is going to talk a little bit more about the actual workshops themselves, but I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention the importance of thinking about digital literacy in aging communities. I know Urbana Free Library and public libraries in general excel when it comes to thinking about youth literacy and youth media literacy, but really as this table here shows, and as national and international trend data shows, The growth in terms of demographics is actually in the older sector of the population, and so this is a really critical area as more and more services move online to ensure that older adults are competent users of technology. Otherwise, they're not going to be competent citizens. We found that older adults, both here and at a similar program we did at Champaign Public Library in February of this year, eagerly came to public library programs focused on digital literacy for older adults, and we see this as something that we hope to do more of, and hope to develop more best practices so that public libraries can do more type of programming in this area. And Brian's going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of the program here at the library that we did.
A little bit more about myself. Again, my name is Brian Bell. I taught part-time at Parkland College under a Department of Commerce grant called Bridging the Digital Divide from 2007 to 2013. During those years, we've reached from 400 to 600 unduplicated students in the community, teaching digital literacy skills. In 2007, I also started a community initiative where I would receive donated machines from Urbana Free Library, the City of Champaign, State Farm, lots of corporations in town. We take those end-of-life machines and we would recycle them back to the community for nonprofits and students and elderly and low income. Brought on as a research assistant for NOAA, because I've been teaching digital literacy skills. We've looked at using video chat software to get seniors, 55, and I think our oldest senior in our group was 92, to use this skill on how to connect with someone in their generation and someone in other generations, this transgenerational connection. We've learned that a lot of seniors, like my mom, right? For me to communicate with her, it's either through chat or email. Sometimes younger people don't use the phone anymore. So we took it a step further and said, well, let's get seniors to do video chat with the high tech or younger people. So there's been, I think it's fun. I've learned a lot. I've been teaching digital literacy skills for adults for 7 years in the community, but not really seniors. So I've learned a lot from this research project. One is that the one-on-one went a lot. It was they learned a lot faster. The connection is more. You can connect with them. So let's say if you had a student for an hour, you would spend a half an hour learning about them. You know, I had a student who was in World War II and who knew Percy Julian personally, and people, you know, like very fascinating people. When you talk to people 85 and up, you know, they're pretty, you can Google them and there's a long history. Then we get into the why are we here and how can we help them. Again, we measure, when you're looking at social connectivity in seniors, sometimes they're isolated. If you can get them to connect, it makes them feel better. People who feel better live longer. So there's a lot of little strings that we're looking at in terms of quality of life and how people can feel better. Why we choose video, again, because it was the step above. I mean, we could have taught them how to do email, but where are we going? We chose a program that was very easy to use called Zoom. There's lots of different video chat applications out there. We could have chose Skype or anything else. But we were looking for something where someone wouldn't have to remember a password or a user account or anything like that. And the application can be used in cross platforms. So it could be used on a cell phone, your iPad, an Android, your old XP machine, anything that you had it working. So it worked pretty well. And it also is bandwidth independent, which means if someone has a slow internet, the video won't be choppy. Zoom takes the video that's in the cloud and compresses it and sends you a smaller, clean video that works rather than a big pixelated, I can't hear you, can you see me video. So that's why we chose Zoom. I've been experimenting with this technology with my mom for years. Every time I would get something, I would kind of use her as my guinea pig and test her. So my mom's a senior, and she's in a retirement home, and she's by herself a lot. And so that's how we talk. We video chat all the time, on my phone and while she's at her desktop. So it was very exciting for me to see that. So I learned that the communication at 101 is more powerful. I usually teach, me in front of a board with 15 students all trying to pay attention. To me, it was more efficient to have one-on-one, so I can have 15 students in 15 hours of one-on-one and get more out of it than having 15 students for 15 weeks sit there and try to learn something. So that's where we're going to. So we've had three workshops. We had one at Clark Lindsey, we had one at the Douglas Branch Library, and we had one at Urbana Free down here in the basement. And they're all pretty booked up, and we thought we were going to have a hard time reaching our numbers, but we've had approximately how many?
30. Yeah, Clark Lindsey.
30.
We're still doing Clark Lindsey.
When we thought about it, we said 15 would be great. We got 30. Everyone loved it. I think that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
And Angela here is, I forgot to introduce Angela. She's a PhD student in the College of Education, and she has laryngitis. So just to really quickly, wanted to just share a couple of 3 findings. And so, yeah, we did a service project, but this was also a research project. So we try to combine research and service. As Brian said, I mean, one thing is that older adulthood is a growing demographic, but it's also a complex and poorly understood demographic, both in public libraries and more generally. So the range of participants was from 62 to 92, with the average age being 75. One professor emeritus who came to the workshop had used computers since the 1960s. One retired factory worker started using computers just 6 months ago. So we're talking about incredibly complex, very, very complex. So this is something where a lot of research is really needed, because we just don't understand a lot of the dynamics that go into digital literacy, how people acquire it, how they maintain it as they age. The second finding is that older adults need continuing support to maintain digital literacy. 50% of participants had stopped using computers at some point in their lives. In other words, they had used computers at some point and they stopped due to disruptions such as retirement, new devices or software coming out, moving, death of family members. A variety of factors makes digital literacy among older adults incredibly fragile and subject to basically being lost if there's not social support systems in place to help them maintain it. And finally, older adults want digital literacy support, and it improves their quality of life, but they do not yet see Urbana Free Library as a place to come for this. All participants who came to the workshops had gone to a computer learning sessions before, but none of the people who came to this particular one had done so here at the Urbana Free Library. But they did say that the video chatting workshop was one of the best learning sessions they'd ever had. All the participants managed to do a video chat session, and all of them felt happier afterwards based on the pre and post-workshop questionnaire we administered. They especially liked one-on-one support and the explanatory takeaway handouts, which Brian prepared. Asked for suggestions, they asked for follow-ups to support continued learning and use. And so the next steps that we're going to do is basically continue to work with the data that we collected and come up with a full report in a few months that we'd be more than happy to share with you. Thanks for letting us partner with the library, and we'd really, more than anything else, we'd just like to, if we have time, just take a few minutes to get some feedback and ideas from you about next steps and where we can go with all of this. So thank you.
And what I want to make really clear is that we worked together to lay out that anyone could participate and did not have to do the research. So as the service part of it, any person in the public was able to participate, and those that wanted to be research subjects did, but it was open to everyone.
Yeah.
Without
Great.
participation.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
It says that we learned that seniors eagerly bring their devices. What if they don't have devices they can bring? What if they are at home and they have like one of those old PCs that sit on the floor and
Yeah. Well, we provided devices at all 3 sites. There was devices available. And so and Brian, who does refurbishing of computers, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
That came up twice.
Yeah.
Some students didn't have a machine.
Uh-huh.
At each session, we had laptops, tablets, and cell phones.
Okay.
So they get to see three different devices.
Three.
And if they did not have one at home, then they would contact me and I would give them one.
Oh, yeah, I know, I've known Brian for years. He's done incredible work in the community with getting devices to people. And so I just was wondering, because, it's hard, sometimes they don't know that, they've got a machine at home, but, how do I get what I'm learning here back home? And they don't understand the transportability of technology and stuff. It's a hard concept for some.
Well, I wish I could give them all iPads.
Yeah.
And the handout.
Yeah.
How can we get a hold of you? We have your
I
name?
I have contacted.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay,
she-
that's good.
Out of curiosity, thinking of my own parent situation, the older people get, there were challenges with seeing and hearing. So was that an issue with any of the sessions, just being able to, hear the devices clearly, or any issues of seeing the text at all?
Well, I didn't have any problems with hearing, but I was surprised to see that many of our seniors who brought their own devices in, they had hacked their devices, so the font was
Okay, super
20
huge.
times larger, so it's already built into a lot of these devices.
Most of the seniors that we've come in contact with, I don't know the exact percentage, but most of them had their own devices. And most of them those devices were given to them by their kids. And every Christmas, they got a new device. So they had many phones, and I was surprised that, they would come with a bag and have an iPhone, iPad, Android, and pull it all out.
It was challenging for us.
Yeah.
I have two groups to talk about. One is my parents. I couldn't get them to come near a computer. My father was just afraid of it. He bought a smartphone, but then touched a couple parts on the screen and then said, I don't know, it doesn't work. So threw it down on the table. And I will admit, sometimes when I use a program on a pad or something on my phone, it's kind of like wondering what brick the gold coins are behind in Super Mario Brothers too. I mean, if you don't know, you're never going to find them if you don't know there are coins there. But there's a fear of it. But I was thinking my family can be a little bit weird, and I get that. But I'm also involved with a retirees organization for the University of Illinois retirees, part of a statewide network, and we have about 2,200 UIUC retirees. And we can't get more than about 45% of the members' email addresses. Now, we figure some of them just don't want to give them out. They want to keep them quiet. They don't want to get spammed and get solicitations from Nigeria and things like that, where they can make a lot of money if they spend a little bit. But then others just don't have it. They don't see the need. So we can't reach out to them. Like with the state legislature doing what it's been doing, or doing nothing in some cases, we want to get the word out to people. Call your legislator. But over half of our group, we can't get them involved. And so I don't know what are you thinking about? How would I do this? How would we do this?
It's a sell. You have to sell it. It's a buy-in. I always start my sessions off with, it was the, Western Union. It was a guy on a horse that delivered the mail. Then it was the Morse code, and then it was the rotary phone, and then it was the touchtone phone, and then things keep changing. So you have to keep moving forward if you still want to communicate with someone. If we all still had analog rotary phones, and you are diehard and you didn't want to give it up, and you were loyal to it, eventually it's going to stop working, and you have to get to the next thing. So I just explained to some of the seniors that this is the way people communicate now with these devices, and this is what they do. So teenagers don't even talk on their phones anymore, but I remember when I used to talk on my cell phone. So if you want to talk to a teenager, that's how you would communicate with them. They have to buy into it, and you have to sell it. If you want to see your grandkids more often, then you might need to buy a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, we're in the representation business. We're not in the sales business.
Yeah, well, I'm saying,
So-
you're not selling them devices or anything.
Yeah,
You're
right.
selling them the concept.
Sure.
This
No,
is how communication
Oh,
It's
okay.
happening.
Oh, I understand,
And
yeah.
just to follow up, so, I mean, that's a sell at the individual level. We also did, we recruited through institutions for the most part. So along the way that we got the word out and got attendance here to the Urbana Free Library was recruiting through senior centers. There's 5 senior centers in Champaign-Urbana, and most of the participants were in one way or another affiliated with one of these senior centers. So then if you recruit through senior centers, and this is something that I think public libraries could actually do more collaborations with senior centers, which are only going to grow in importance as the population ages. And so then the recruitment doesn't have to be one person by one person. You can do something that's more, you reach more people by going to groups like senior centers, and that's how we got the attendance that we had here at the library.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. That's a
Thank
great
you.
idea.
Thank you.
Amazing.
What can we do for you?
Yeah, good question.
Remember, we have no money.
Yeah.
Facilities we have.
That's a no question.
Yeah, I think the main thing is just, realize that the Graduate School of Library and Information Science is an eager partner, and that research is important. It's not just something that is kind of, it's like irrelevant nonsense that people like I do and write a dissertation and it goes nowhere. I'm doing a PhD because I think research matters, and it's important to have public institutions like the Urbana Free Library collaborate with researchers like myself to both offer services to people in the community, but also enrich public understanding of pressing issues of the day, such as an aging population that struggles to use technology. So just, just all that I would ask is that the Urbana Free Library continues to be a partner of research and service that we hope to do in our research group here.
And you guys have been helpful in the past with donating old equipment too, so I would give you things, you guys would give me things. It's been a good relationship.
I have another question that came to mind. Now that UC2B is pushing forward with partnerships, they've got the private partnership with content delivery and all this kind of stuff that's going forward into new neighborhoods. I mean, they have done their first phase of going into the neighborhoods of need. How can UC2B, how can they, I know Abdul isn't here to maybe answer some of these things, but it seems to me like that group would facilitate a lot of the senior. I mean, there are so many people who aren't connected with senior, groups. They're by themselves, and it's really hard to ferret this out. How can UC2B help? I mean, there must be a network that could be established with them and the libraries and these senior citizen groups to kind of thump the ground.
That's being worked on right now as we speak.
Yeah,
Right, Chris?
yeah.
Absolutely. There's an umbrella organization being created called Information City. And under that will be digital equality, UCB, cities, everyone, and we'll be addressing all of these things and have a community labs and all funded.
Because I mean, this was part of that whole project that seemed to be so nebulous. And Brian and I worked in the early iterations of UC2B, and it was the part that seemed to me the most important. But everybody else was involved in the hardware and the software,
The Community Benefit Fund,
Right.
which is money set aside for doing digital divide work. Very similar to what the Department of Commerce does at Parkland, which is just instruction. But the Community Benefit Fund will be part of that umbrella, which will address these things, and we'll manage the volunteers and guest lists and dispatch people, people out and volunteers out senior centers and housing.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting more organized.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and that was always, to me, gonna be the hardest part, the people part. You know, the software and the hardware you can maybe deal with, but it was the people part that it seemed to be. And it's so good to hear that you guys are, you know, in the vanguard, so.
Yeah. Every Tuesday morning we meet and we're strategizing and plotting to take over the world.
That's good, it's good. I know you can
We
do
still
it,
go
Brian,
half
I
of
know you can.
Well, I, for one, am very pleased that we can be a part of, and I see myself as a retired individual thinking, you know, my wife's still in computer work and such like this, but what happens when we completely leave the university? Will we be left behind? So you're hitting right at me.
Yeah, oh yeah. So there will be somewhere where everyone could go. So there'll be a community help desk, which that whole idea, which is not to exist anywhere. It'll be a help desk for the community, like Geek Squad for everyone.
That's really a good idea.
That's
'cause
great.
When the internet connectivity goes away, I mean, none of us have tech support we can call anymore.
No, that's
right.
We,
Oh, yeah.
we're looking in the mirror and trying
There
to
is not
figure
a
it out.
single electronic device that comes with instructions.
Right.
That's true.
You buy a phone, you get a phone.
That's about right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's about right. Well,
Thank you.
keep us informed, keep us in the loop, and I hope that we can continue to support you, because that, I think, is part of our mission too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we are you.
We are you, yes, you are us.
Someday you'll be us, yes.
Okay, let's move into items for action or discussion. Buildings and grounds, didn't see anything. Technology, anybody? Finances?
I was just going to ask if that IT position has been,
Oh, question on the IT position, did we announce it?
Not yet.
not yet,
Not
okay.
yet.
Yeah, we have,
The approval from the,
We went to civil service and they had approved the job description, and now we are going to look at the budget first, and then we're going to post it.
okay.
also under finance though, you have a couple things.
Finance, yes.
For City Council had requested information about our other funds, other than the general funds. So for example, grants and memorials and Friends of the Library and gifts and things like that. So Rich has come up with a different way of displaying the information that is put in the city's budget document this year. He put two books together into one, and so things were laying out differently. So we looked at ours and gave a summary, and so I wanted to make sure that you had what City Council had. And then also you have in front of you the multicolored potential budget revision, so that as we finish out this fiscal year that ends the end of this month, that we have our lines in order. I hoped to email it earlier, but we were waiting on a couple pieces of information so that we knew where to move funds around from. So at the last page, page 7, there's some text explaining the proposed changes, some of them more important ones. So we received more money than expected in the state corporate replacement tax funds and revenue. So we added that into the revenue at the top, but because we've been told to keep the total revenue number the same, that's the number approved by City Council, we took money out of the fines and fees fund. So the revenue stays the same even though we received more. By the end of the year, we'll know how much money did we get in fines and fees, how much money did we get from the cafe, how much money did we get for taxes. That hasn't all come in yet. We also, last month, had received an extra, in March, more money had come in than expected for the state per capita funds, and we had added that in the top as well under revenue, but we had not adjusted the expenses. So we made the expenses adjustments so that revenues and expenses balance out now. We also had some extra expenses with the HVAC system that needed to be tweaked, as well as some regular ongoing maintenance. So that put us over in a couple of building maintenance lines. So what we did is we looked through and saw where we weren't going to spend down our budgets in particular areas, and I am making proposed shifts. If it's in red, it's where we have extra and we can pull, and if it's black, that means that we needed to add more money into it. And we did more reds than necessary because that non-recurring costs at the very last page, those were going to all come out of the fund balance or from the VERF fund. And what we wanted to show you is that we expect not to spend as much money as budgeted, to the tune of about $127,000. Our one-time expenses, which would have come from fund balance, are going to come in at around $151,000. Sorry, so 127, 151. We're going to be able to cover, almost cover that completely from our general operating funds. So a smaller amount would come out of fund balance. The $100,000 for the VERF money is not going to be coming from the city, so that will be coming from the library's budget. So I wanted to show you that we will be able to mostly cover that in this year's budget as it stands. Mostly.
So
Yes.
do you have any information on what the fund balances are?
If you look online, Becky posts the detailed trial and then the budget summary, and buried, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but in there, what is in our checking and savings account is in there. And so what I want to do is come up with something that's easier to see at a glance. So Becky does a budget justification, a checking account justification every month. And maybe it's just photocopying that sheet and showing you. In the past, several years back, a little spreadsheet was done each month to show you what our fund balance is, and every month it goes down, and then the taxes come in and infuse it, and then that's spent and the taxes come in. So there are a couple different ways. So what I thought I might do for next month is show you a couple different ways to make that clear, and then see what is easier, because I think that looking for that information in the trial, the budget trial, detailed budget trial, and then the budget summary, it's not easy for me to find. And
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's mostly transactions there, so you see deposits, but you don't really see the current balance most of the time, so that would help. I mean, so will there be a transfer then of 151,000 or something from something called the fund balance to the current budget? How does that work?
it's all in one big bank account.
Okay.
And so it's more like, we know that this is what we don't expect to spend. We know that this is the big budget for the year, and then there's this much, approximately $250,000. It's things like gifts and memorials, money from the Friends, things that are encumbered, or, sorry, restricted. And so one of the things I'd have people working and looking at is, what are memorials, what can we spend them on, coming up with some plans as to how to use the funds, and then know really what of the fund balance, so to speak, that we can spend and how big it is. What can we spend and what can we spend only in certain ways, and then where it stands. It's between $250,000 and $200,000, and everything else is what we budget to spend.
I mean, our operating expenses are about 340,000 a month or something, 320,000 a month, so that's less than a month's operating expenses.
That's right.
Okay. Have you had any discussions with the city as far as going forward, if they even want you to utilize the VERF fund? Because other departments will contribute $10,000, $20,000 a year, and then when they have expenses, they'll be able to access that. Have there been any discussions about that?
They're going to have a meeting, Bill Gray and other department heads are going to talk about the VERF as it stands and contributions, and there will be a different meeting set up to talk about that other bigger picture, because right now the VERF is underfunded for the amount of spending that people expect their departments to need in the upcoming year. So VERF is the big topic, and I will be in on some of those discussions, absolutely. And we'll have to decide if the HVAC system goes, or the porch crumbles, or a big catastrophic thing were to happen. It's going to take us a while to get at $10,000 a year. It's going to take a while to get to that point.
I think the other departments were pretty much estimating what was going to happen over the next 10 years. I know it's hard to guess, but we know that HVAC needs to be replaced, things like that.
We do have some things, yes.
So once you have that list, then you divide it by 10, and that's what you contribute every year, basically. And of course, there's still going to be unexpected things, so I don't know how to handle that.
I think that that's the approach that we need to take, those to plan for it and to budget for it. And we do have some documents, like the 5-year technology plan, and some other documents that the board has approved that we can look at and say, okay, what are the potential costs for this? So I hope to bring you a July budget for the fiscal 14-15 year that could include something like this, and that you would approve or not approve, and that would include how we expect to pay for the IT manager position, so that it's laid out. And part of that will be using more Friends money that has already been put aside for books to be spent on books, and then less of the LO5 general fund money can be spent on that.
I don't know if this is a question for Celeste or for Bill, but what has changed in terms of the VERF reimbursement? That's money we've
I think
relied
they're
on
just
before.
getting more, they're getting more systematic about it. Apparently the library had never paid into it, is that right? I'm not sure. The vehicle equipment
they had.
replacement fund is basically set up as a savings account to replace
Right.
equipment. And all departments pay into it. A lot of them haven't been paying enough. The fire department, for example, is buying a $500,000 truck this year, but they hadn't really been paying enough into it to justify that, so they're increasing their contribution now. But they have been paying some. So that might be some of the difference, is just the library has never been paying into it. I think partly it was, part of it's just because we have a new comptroller now. Ron had his way of doing things, and now Rich has a different way of doing things. But he's being pretty systematic about it, and it's probably good in the long run. But it's just really unfortunate that we'd already budgeted for this, and then to be told in the last month of the budget that we weren't going to get it after we'd spent the money.
I thought the library was contributing to VERF. We have over the years, but not consistently. What are your recollections about that, Ken?
There was an email that kind of, I thought indicated that we had paid into that, but I'm thinking.
I could
like
swear
you
on a
did.
stack of Bibles.
I can swear that too. I hear what you're saying, is that there's something in the back of my mind that tells me that I thought we had, but it's based on conversations and board meetings and so on, so.
So I could go back and check some budgets. I didn't look real hard for it.
Well,
Looked at the last two, I think.
Technically, is it going to matter with the city if we find a piece of paper that says, back in 1988, we paid into the VERF fund?
No, not at this point. It's a wash now.
So the VERF is basically gone as we know it. Our access to it is done.
When I talked to Mayor last night about it,
Correct.
one of the
That's a question.
justifications seemed to be that we have this fund balance, but she couldn't say how much it was, and Rich was gone after the meeting, so I didn't get a chance to ask him
Well,
about it.
I understand what you're saying, Mark, but to have the kibosh put on
Right.
us that we never,
Oh, it's very frustrating.
which is not
Yeah.
a good thing. And I seem to recall over the past 19 years that we have budgeted VERF contributions, and I'd have to dig down deep and.
Yeah,
I
well,
think further confusing is when we weren't necessarily given to VERF, we would give excess budget back to the city.
Maybe that's.
I think that's what you're
maybe
thinking
that's-
of. And we did that a number of times. We're just trying to be a good citizen for the city, saying, well, look,
Right.
here's our budget. We've underspent it. Here, we're just going to turn this excess back to you.
Right.
And then you can
But
redistribute.
I had always thought that it was directed to that just as a safety.
I thought so
cushion.
too. That was,
That, I'm just blabbing here, but I could swear.
well, I guess what
I just don't want us to get a bad reputation in the city, in the halls of, across the street saying, oh, well, the library, blah, 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 I just don't.
No, I don't think they're
Yeah.
thinking that. I mean, they should be feeling pretty guilty, really.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it may sound like a statement, but it was a question. Is our access to the VERF as we knew it done now? Will there be a new plan for creating a sinking fund for capital
Well, that's
repairs?
exactly what Bill was saying.
Right.
And I'm saying we will take a look over the next month at
Right.
what we have already in the past said would be large expenditures for the library, and then figure out whether we put it into a VERF fund or whether we keep it aside
Yeah,
in our own fund, like we do
Our
with
own-
health
our own
insurance.
trust fund.
Right.
Fees that we pay out for people when they leave, whether it's an internal bookkeeping piece or whether it's with the VERF fund.
Well, I guess it depends on what the city intends to do. If they intend to give us access to the VERF fund, we could pay into the VERF fund. If they don't,
we establish our
we
own.
establish our own.
Establish our own plan fund.
To answer your question, I do have the April bank reconciliation, so you can pass this around if you want to. As of the end of April, our bank account, our main bank account, had $549,000, and there was $14,000 in general gifts. So it gets pretty lean at the end of the fiscal
Yes.
year because our September and June are the 2 months that we get the taxes in the library. So we get half of our taxes in the last 3 weeks of the fiscal year. So it gets really low.
And are there any funds that the city is holding for the library they could be talking about when they say fund balance? Besides, I mean, you have your bank account balance, but is there some funds that the city is holding for the
No.
library?
No.
Okay.
No.
But in essence, they're holding the June tax money until June. I mean, it was paid in September. We
No,
paid,
this is,
No.
this should be the new June money.
The
Yeah.
taxes are received in June and September. So in September.
so when
got
do we
September.
receive our portion?
Well, we
June?
got it a little bit later than September, but we did receive the fall in the fall. And
Okay,
so the June
okay.
payment, we got our first June payment, it was $680,000. We were expecting about 1.5, 1.6 million. So Rich had said we should expect to get 1 to 2 more payments. And I did ask, do you know how much it will be? Because I'm doing the budget. And he said, no, until the city gets it, how would we know? So the other thing is we have followed up with them on the corporate replacement tax. We were under about $10,000. It's been a little tricky with turnover they've had as well. And so we asked that they double check that the library got all of our parts and whether they got another payment, because those payments come in from the state as well. They come in on a cycle. So when they get their payment from the state, we get our chunk. And so we just got $14,000. So we actually got, $3,500 more than we expected to get. So that was a plus. So we do follow up when we see the budget lines don't look right. We do touch base and see how things are.
Now, in terms of our budget adjustment, that is a July motion. I mean, the board reacts to the budget.
This is your June budget adjustment. For
This is
June.
still the current.
You can vote anytime you want to
But don't-
adjust the budget.
isn't
but
we
you
don't we normally do that in July?
Adjust the budget 3 times a year.
Mel, don't we normally do that in July?
No, we don't adjust in July.
We adjust the line, when do we,
Adjustments are usually made prior to June, and then
oh,
it's always prior adjustments.
Well, March, June, and December are the
Right.
months that it says in the bylaws.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's kind
okay.
of what I think. Yeah.
okay.
And then the other piece is, that's for your LO5 general fund. And then for the gift
Yeah.
funds, those adjustments, you adopt the budget for those funds
Right.
after the funds have been
After,
received.
yes.
So I don't know if that's what you're thinking of, because that is a post-year close action.
Right, but we're not adjusting the budget at that point, we're just.
Approving the original budget.
Right.
We have to make it zero adjustments, but adjustments. But that-
For our budget next year, we didn't budget any VERF money, right?
We did not, no, because but again, I'm bringing you an adjustment, so that can be a piece of it.
Mhm.
Any other questions to ask Celeste or to any other staff members? Okay, let's move on to the policy.
Well,
Need a motion to approve that?
Need a
Right,
motion to
yes,
approve the,
Yeah.
I move to approve the proposed budget revisions as presented.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
and then also on finance, the audit for the library is up on the city's website now. Monday next week, the city will be talking about the audit generally. I'm not sure how much time will be given to the library or not. I will make sure that you can either have a paper copy to flip through before next month's meeting in case you have questions, or just send the link. I know some people just like to get the paper, some people like to email, so let me know, because the audit is a chunk of pages. So
okay.
I think we said we didn't want the whole audit. I don't,
there are some things in there I want to point out too. It
Okay,
talks about the
okay.
fund balance. It talks about some of the things that you did say that, and thank you for why are you telling me this when we already said what we wanted. I think that if we were to have me touch on some high points, it will be
Okay.
helpful to the discussions.
okay, great. Okay, moving on, anything else in finance? Sorry? No. Okay, moving on to policy, we have the circulation policy, and I'll be very frank, all I did was went through and looked at the red, or the changes. They're basically pretty minor, and I feel that we could have passed those tonight without having to present them tonight and make them changes next month, because if we want them to go in effect July 1, we should have it out there. So is there, I'm going to ask for discussion, how you feel about that. Can we vote on that tonight?
Yeah, none of them seem really substantive to me. I mean, they were just adding things back in or making minor changes.
It's more, it's in line up with other things, I think, really.
Kind of
Champagne
tweaking,
and-
right.
So it's not really a drastic,
No, just, adding board games to the 1 week and just kind of doing some clarification
Yeah.
of
Well, the only
loans and, yeah.
Well, but I just was wondering because Don's thing about increasing, where was it? The,
Number of CDs you could check out or something.
there was something in here about raising the level before people lose their borrowing privilege.
Oh, the accumulated charges?
Accumulated charges.
Going from $5 to $10.
yeah.
That's not in here, is it?
It is.
Yes, it
is.
Look at, under section 21A,
Oh, that's fine,
under
okay.
borrowing.
Okay, that's in here, good, okay.
And again, I kind of thought that was a minor,
Yeah, that's minor too, yeah.
But technically, you don't have it on the agenda as an action item.
Well, that says action or.
It says action
Yeah.
or discussion.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not,
It's
I
not-
looked at that and the agenda looked different than it usually looks. so.
and I don't have any problem with the fact that the word action is there. There could be action under any of those items.
okay, I think in the future, we should
Okay.
make it more clear,
Okay.
just as though so we don't get.
Because what we've done is action and discussion on our policy, we've got circulation policy, so
Right.
we've got the item that is going to be acted upon.
Right, but somebody who's looking at this from the outside doesn't know whether we're voting on it or not tonight.
Okay.
And if they wait till tomorrow to have give a comment, we've already done it.
I suppose we can always go back. and
It's a
reverse it.
picayune point.
I know.
But technically, we should make it clear what's for discussion, what's for action in future agendas.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I just had
No.
another question. I can't find it right now, but what was the CD limit going up to like 20 CDs?
Yes.
Going up to 40.
40, so it's 20 now, it's
From
going
20 to 40.
So,
We've got a collection of about 20,000 CDs, so it's
Yeah.
a very healthy sized collection. I think we think it can absorb it.
okay. I mean, it's good to have more out there. But
Yes.
if somebody's, just holding them and not using them. I mean, I don't come in a lot to rent DVDs or CDs, but when I have, and I don't see the ones I want, I leave. But it's not like I want 20, I just want certain ones, and if those aren't there. So there's kind of a trade-off, you get more total out there in circulation, but then you might have fewer patrons actually having them in their hands. So you might be trading quantity of material for quantity of patrons. Does that make sense?
When a patron puts a hold on something, does that shorten the loan period for the current holder?
It doesn't shorten it, but it prevents them from being able to renew it.
Okay.
So
All right.
that would be our thought. We would encourage that patron, yourself or whomever had an interest in something that wasn't there, to place a request on it so that they could get it as quickly as possible.
I think that's the proactive way to get about getting what you want.
Celia made a presentation that on a given day that there was $500,000 worth of material out. This is an attempt to have more than $500,000 out material. We own more than that out to the public at one time. So it makes sense to me, at least, if we find it doesn't work, like Bill's saying, I don't get what I want because too many people have taken, I don't know how we've ever solved that.
Yeah.
But I think it gives them an opportunity for us to have more things out.
I think about ways to increase awareness of the hold policy too, just let people know that they can hold it.
I think in general, I think expanding renewals and opportunities for renewals is the best thing. And being able to place holds on things, and I know it's more difficult than it used to be as far as resource sharing goes with us, but there are other vehicles to obtain items that you want. And we're increasing our digital presence in this world. I mean, we had a presentation tonight about the digital divide and how you can access materials in many different ways. Just because you walk in the library and you can't get what you want, doesn't mean you can't get what you want. And all you have to do is do a little bit of an extra step, and then you'll get what you want, and maybe you don't have to, the library doesn't have to spend as much money trying to buy things that you want, because we can get it from a partner or somebody that we're sharing with. And I think expanding renewals and the numbers of things you can have checked out is a better thing. That's just my opinion.
Is there a motion to accept the changes to the policy, circulation policy?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Good move. Good move.
Yes.
Thank you.
Education and training, I don't see anything that, is there anything that you know of? Oh, I think that we need to embarrass Kathy.
Haven't done that for a while.
Kathy got the scholarship to attend the seminar of leadership. I'm blowing it because I don't have it in front of me. Kathy, what is
The
it?
American Library Association Leadership Institute. I was accepted.
That's great.
Only 40 librarians in the U.S., so I guess I feel pretty good about it.
That's great.
That is
Cool.
excellent.
Congratulations. That's great.
Reports from the staff. Do you have any questions of their reports? I circled a couple things. but-
I can't believe how busy adult services and reference has been.
Yeah.
You've just been doing incredible work.
Thank you, but I want to point out a typo. I didn't catch it until after finding in some of the items in my meeting while 800 e-books went out, not 600.
Oh.
So we're even busier than we thought.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's incredible to see the activity. I love it. It's wonderful.
One of the things when I see numbers, I like to have commas in them. 32881, I like to have a comma after the two, so I can say 32,000, then I don't look at the rest of the numbers. So, that's me.
Actually, about that number, with or without the comma. In lieu of us not having access to the VERF, I just was trying to figure out what this means. What does the 32,881 mean? We've submitted a final invoice for reimbursement. Does that mean we actually got $62,000 in first money?
No. That just said, of the invoices that have come in, this is the final one for the project.
Okay.
The library paid all its bills up front and
Okay.
submitted for reimbursement, and
Okay.
we submitted that as well. The city has copies of them if they were ever interested in, if they were ever so flush, they wanted to look at back birth payments.
Okay, right. Second thing is, maybe I've been asleep at the meetings, or I know I missed last month. The comprised payment system, just a couple sentences on what,
It's a system that could help streamline online bill payment with credit cards. It's quite pricey. So we're evaluating, is the cost out of pocket worth the staff convenience and other costs?
okay.
That is
So if I had a fine, I could pay it from home.
Or you could pay it at the self-check machines. Currently, the credit card option is,
Still, actually, we're waiting on the firewall.
yeah.
But we would need this to do it, to make it happen. Comprised.
I think
I
what
should
it would
take that
help
back,
is
you're
that there are all these different payment streams coming in. The self-checks is one, the Circ Desk is another, potentially online payments through the website is a third, and this comprised system would allow Karen to combine all of those instead of looking at 4 or 5 different revenue streams. It
Okay.
combines everything and streamlines her process.
Okay.
So
Is that a one-time?
It's a yearly fee. It's a service fee, just like you pay the credit card companies a service fee. But would we increase
Yeah.
the amount of revenue that comes in if people could pay their bills online? That's a question.
Are there other libraries that are using this that we can ask that question of?
Oh, sure.
Or is it brand new?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Karen is researching it, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for asking.
It looks like we're still kind of in a wait-and-see state with Innovative.
there's another
Yeah,
webinar coming up on Thursday to talk about their Leap product, which is for more mobile devices and things like that. So we'll see if anything's changed in the past couple months. I'm trying to keep my finger on the pulse.
I mean, it's kind of typical with takeovers, that things just don't move really quickly, and then they move really too quickly.
It'll be later rather than sooner.
Laura,
Congratulations on getting 3 days out of the awning.
What a pain.
Oh, geez.
I think we're very happy it didn't hit anybody.
Really?
Yes.
It was big.
It was big.
It was a really big piece of metal.
I couldn't believe it.
I was out of the country. I missed this.
Chimney fell.
The awning was installed on May 28th,
The chimney cap flew off.
Yeah, chimney cap.
on June 1. Some of it.
It's a small hole, it's about the same.
This was.
Well, I'm glad to know that Twin City Technology is going to fix it. So. And is that at no
Yeah,
cost?
and if insurance will pay for it.
Do we know?
We're exploring all the options.
Yes, please.
You just ask for VERF, oh, never mind.
We can always ask.
You know, actually, if our deductible is so low that gets paid for, we probably need to re-examine our insurance deductible.
I'm sorry Laura's not here to ask her about the panda hamster that's going to be here this summer.
It's here. We're almost here.
Oh,
You can
then
go
let's
see
hear
it.
about it. It's here?
It's on the desk in children's.
Spare fur balls?
Well, the cage.
Disgusting spare fur ball wishers.
And we'll leave it in the cage. We're not going to let it go around the library like a cat.
No.
They like chewing paper.
You might lose it.
Okay.
It's going to match in
But
the right
the
building.
digital collection would be okay.
Well, in archives, we're having a little animal envy. So we were thinking, the archives, it wouldn't be appropriate to have that type of animal, the archives.
Really?
So we're thinking maybe a fish.
Yeah. That is good. That's good.
Really, the archive should have something old.
A fossil.
I was thinking an owl, but yeah, I was thinking an owl.
A turtle or something.
A turtle?
One of those turtles was 75 years, or a toucan.
Mary, do you want to
Well, tanks
explain
of water
anything
in
about
the
the
archives
38
first.
incidents this month? That sounds awfully high.
We have a new person that we've met, but we're working hard to get a handle on things and come up with a system. And our patron instant committee has been working a lot with Celeste. We've had some good conversations.
Good. Because I have driven by at least once and saw several cop cars here, and you never know. I didn't even drive in when I saw 2 cop cars out front. Oh.
The police are not here every day.
No. Are there other questions that staff, or that board members have of staff? If not, let's go to unfinished business. We have a slate of officers that was announced last month, and if I can have a motion that we accept that slate of officers for next year, I would accept it. That
So
motion.
move.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations to Mark, Beth, and I guess me.
And you? We'll congratulate you.
Yeah.
It's unseemly for you to congratulate.
Yes, I think that's what.
About the D, section D, are there any reports on any of those things?
What was it?
Reports of liaison officers,
Liaison.
section D, right here.
Right here.
Like, we kind of.
Okay.
The
let's get it.
foundation's
Right
not
by
meeting
there.
until later
We
this
went
month.
right by it,
And
yeah.
the Friends haven't met either, they take this month off.
I'd ask Anna to work on the Friends. Do we have anything from the other? And I'd asked Larry to come tonight, so I didn't know that he was, but we need a board member as a liaison officer for each one of those. Do we have any volunteers?
I think Anna volunteered
Yeah.
last
Yes.
week, or last month for something. Was that for
Friends.
Friends?
Yeah.
Friends. Anna did. I could twist her arm, but she did. But the other two, the foundation,
You're on the foundation.
and I'm on the
Yeah.
foundation, so I guess that takes care of it, yeah. So the Heartland Library System.
I thought Jane volunteered for that one, but
No, Jane.
I was thinking Jane said there was one more meeting.
We
she had
tried
to
to
go
force her.
That was the, I
That was-
haven't heard Lincoln Trails.
Yeah.
Need somebody who
It was the
knows
weirdest
this.
email I
What's
haven't
this
heard
about?
back.
You haven't heard any more?
It's been a long time. Those guys been.
We do need to assign somebody to this, and would you be interested in continuing, Jane, in that?
Not really.
Not really. Would anybody else on the board be interested?
Don't really have the headspace yet.
Scott, this would be a good assignment for you. No?
I prefer not that.
Well,
Anna's not here.
Anna's got her.
Seems like the natural choice.
Anna's got
I don't
her,
think she
so.
can do it.
Is that in your bylaws? I didn't think that that was in your bylaws.
I don't think so.
No.
So if it's not in your bylaws, you're not required to have it. Not to
Okay.
be funny.
No, it's kind of, it would be nice, and
Okay.
we recognize it'd be nice, but it's, yeah.
Then let's
It was
move
it
on.
was
Timing
never
Are you, I
official.
guess my question, I have to find out where they meet, what you're required to do.
Okay.
If
I
it
can
involves-
answer that.
We need to do,
Mary, can you answer that?
For 3 more weeks, I can answer questions about Illinois Heartland, but they usually have their board meetings on Tuesday nights, and the next annual meeting is down at their newest office in DuQuoin, but they do have,
Coin?
telephone?
not telephone, they,
It's like by
the
Carbondale.
video conference.
Yeah. It's got the Coin State
And they
Fair, which
usually have a
is right by
video
Carbondale,
conference
I
set up
think.
at the
Well,
Champaign Hub, even though they didn't advertise it being Champaign in the last newsletter. So
Can you just join from your home computer as a
I
web
don't
No.
believe
conference?
so. I can try to find out though.
Okay.
I don't think so. You have to be in the room.
In the room, yeah. They usually have a staff member.
Do or do not have to be in the room?
You do have
Do.
to be in the room.
Well, I will think about it if it doesn't involve
Okay.
a lot of travel, because
Well, I can't see
work
going to
crazy hours
DuQuoin.
these days, and I'm not about to drive somewhere
Yeah, that's
that
too
much
much.
where, you know? I mean,
Do you want us
just
to
can't.
find out and get back with you then?
I can do
Okay, the next item of business is I need a motion for a closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2C5. Do I have such a motion?
I'll move, we go into closed session.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
A roll call vote. Give your name and say,
Jane, yes?
Bill, yes.
Beth, yes?
Chris, yes.
Mark, yes?
Scott, yes.
Ah, yes.
Mel, yes.